Hello friends, welcome back. In another topic of grammar, we will be dealing with the sentences over here, which is largest unit of any language. If you are dealing with any language, if you are studying any language, you have to deal with the basic and basic part of its unit, that is language, as you have units in science and maths as well, SI units or some other units. So unit of any language is simply a sentence. Then I have over here made two different categorizations of sentences. One is on the basis of structure, another is on the basis of function. So on the basis of structure, you will see what is the build-up of the sentence, and through that very build-up, you will be able to differentiate what kind of sentence it is. And on the basis of function, when you have function of any kind of sentence, you will see what function it does. On the basis of that very function, you will be able to deal and you will be able to figure out what kind of sentence it is. So we will start with the structure. We will start with structure and we will see there are four types of sentences in structure. We have simple sentence, we have compound sentence, we have complex sentence, we have compound complex sentence, or it is known as complex compound sentence, vice versa. So it is up to you whether you will call it compound complex or complex compound. So it's up to you. Now we have simple sentence, starting with from the very first part, that is simple sentence. It is simply a statement, simply a clause. Clause means a group of sentence which has one particular function. We have one particular verb in it, and it cannot take another clause with it. Simply, as I have given certain examples, like I always wanted to become a writer. It is simply one clause. There is no dependent or independent clause in it. It is simply, independent clause. There is no dependent clause on it. Further, or I'll give examples, then you will be able to differentiate between dependent and independent clause as well. So example over here is I always wanted to become a writer. It's taking one verb, and the thing is that it has complete sense, one complete sense, and which makes it a simple sentence. So I'm playing cricket right now. So it is a sentence with a complete sense. It's independent. It can be spoken without any other, we can say relief, or we can say other any help. Then we say it is independent clause, and if it have only once, that means the sentence is simple sentence. Coming to compound part, when you see compound part, you will see that a compound sentence must have more than one independent clause with no dependent clause. That means there will be two clauses or three clauses, but all of them will be independent. They will not be depend on each other. They will be independent, and they can be spoken apart from each other. They can be written apart from each other. They can be written independently. That's why it's known as independent clause. So there should be two or more than two. That means more than one independent clauses should be there. Some specific conditions or punctuations or both can connect these two independent clauses. Like here, I have given an example. I wanted to become a writer. Look, this is a complete clause. I wanted to become a writer. It's complete sense. There is no confusion in it. There is no problem. And she wanted to become a doctor. Look, this is another clause. Clause number one, clause number two. When you have two clauses, it's here conjunction, which is joining these two clauses. We have two independent clause. That means it's a compound sentence. Make it sure that you should know that whether it is taking independent or dependent clause, whether it is taking both, whether it is taking one or two of one and one of one. So you should keep this thing in mind. Look, here we were having only one clause, that too independent. Here in compound, we will be having two independent clauses, and that too will be connected by any conjunction or maybe any punctuation mark. Now the third, which is complex sentence, which has some complexity. That means it's little complex than compound. Complex sentence, what is has more than one clause, must be independent, and others must be dependent clause. Look over here, one also a complex sentence also has more than or one clause more than clauses. That means, sorry, here it seems as if something is missing. But the thing is that it has more than one clauses, but one should be independent or must be. That means it's very compulsory that one must be independent and others may be dependent on that. Look over here. I know that you always wanted to be a writer. I know. It's independent. I know this very thing, that you always wanted to be a, sorry, this is independent. You always wanted to be a writer. This is independent clause. Little confusion. So this is independent clause. You always wanted to be a director, and this is a conjunction. And I know. What does I know? You have to state that very thing. What does I know? Either the work, either this thing will be mentioned earlier, or you will mention that what thing you do know. That means I know is an independent clause over here. Sorry, dependent clause over here, which is fully supported by the independent clause. I saw that you were playing cricket. You were playing cricket is an independent clause. It is this I saw which is dependent on it, making this one dependent clause. Dependent clause can't survive alone, so it has independent clause always, which gives it assistance so that it survives into, we can say, writing or speaking. So this one being an independent clause gives a kind of a survival to I saw, which is dependent clause. So here we could have used we may use two or more than two dependent clauses. Independent clauses used only one. Now coming to the compound complex sentence, what does it mean? It means a mixture of the features of compound and complex. That means this and this one, it has a kind of mixture of both of these, then becomes a compound complex sentence, as name is itself tells you about it. So what it must contain? It must contain at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. Here it was one independent and two or more than two dependent clauses, but here it will be two independent clause and at least one dependent clause. You will see it. I know you always wanted to become a writer, but I always wanted to become a doctor. Look, here I always wanted to become a doctor and you always wanted to become a writer. These are independent clauses, two independent clauses, and this I know is a dependent clause. So two independent and one dependent makes it a mixture of three clauses. That means three clauses will be there, two will be independent, one will be dependent, and that will make the sentence as compound complex sentence. So these were the four types of sentences which were based on structure. Now coming to the function part. What is the function and how we will classify regarding function, or we can say watching the function of that very sentence, we can classify it. We have declarative sentence, imperative sentence, interrogative, and exclamatory sentence. So, and declarative sentence is a sentence, we call it assertive sentence sometimes as well. It simply expresses an opinion, or we can say feeling, or makes a statement about anything, or describes things or other words. So when you will see that there is an expression is given, or any opinion is given, or something is being described, or some action is being described, and it is the end of that very period, that means it is complete, having complete sense, and it does not need anything more, and it has complete sense by putting a full stop, because you will see that complete sense having a particular sentence is only said to be sentence when it has complete sense. So over here, when it has complete sense but it is opinion and feeling or making a statement or describing something, then you will see that it is declarative sentence or assertive sentence. So I want to be a doctor, or we can say I want to be a writer, I am playing cricket now. So these are all declarative sentences. I want to become a doctor. That describes me that I want to become a doctor. So whenever things describe or express opinion, or we can say feelings, then you will say that those sentences are declarative sentences. Then we have imperative sentence. Imperative sentences are those sentences which give request or command, which give some kind, when you will see any request or any command, you state it as imperative sentence. These sentences usually end with a period or under certain circumstances. Like, look, as it was obvious that sentence ends with a period, but it has certain circumstances somewhere. Sometimes it ends with the exclamation as well. Like, I need you to sit down now. It's a command, and it is a kind of circumstance of something that I want you to sit down right now in my office. That means I'm giving a command to somebody. When you are giving command to somebody, or you are requesting some person or anything, then it is imperative sentence which you are using. Then we have interrogative, and as interrogative is obvious to everyone that it asks questions. We all also call them tag questions. So you tags. So whenever you ask any question, that is interrogative sentence. Do you know him? When you are going to submit your assignments? So all kind of questions which you ask are interrogative sentences, and they usually end up, every time end up with an interrogative mark. So exclamatory sentence, it is to express your feelings, strong feelings, your emotions, your happiness, your sorrow, your fear, your we can say anger, whatever. Whenever you express these things in sentences, those are known as exclamatory sentences. Strong feelings. These usually have strong kind of feelings in them, like you will feel anger, and when you use those angry words, then it is exclamatory sentence. What a day it was. It is used with expression as well. What a day it was. It can be with happiness. What a day it was, yaar. Today I was completely satisfied with my work. What a day it was. So when you are giving a kind of a statement, then you are putting an exclamatory mark at last, and it's usually just makes us watch your emotions, your wonder, your sorrow, your pain, your pleasure, whatever kind of emotion you have, then it is exclamatory sentence. I cannot believe he would do that. Oh, so it is wonder, or you can say surprise. When you feel surprised, I cannot believe he would do that. So it's a kind of a wonder, it's a kind of a surprise you felt at that very time. So it is exclamatory sentence. So these were two types of sentences, we can say, on the basis of structure and function, and rather four types. Hope you got the idea of the sentences now. So that was all in this very video. Hope you liked it. Thank you.